Bonjour, Bungishimo Nindijikas, Kuchiching Nindijibam. My name is Shawn Johnson, and I'm an Anishinaabe originally from Kuchiching First Nations.
My name is Lila Buju, Namituin Kine Creative Shinkas Makwato Them, Kuchin Dunjua.
This is our submission for the Gathering Our Voices keynote speaker presentation. So we just wanted to just spend the next few minutes sharing a bit about our backgrounds and why we feel that you should choose us as coming to speak at your conference next year out in BC. So this past year, we've gratefully had the opportunity to have some media coverage about our story as a mother and son. We both recently graduated from the Masters of Social Work Aboriginal Field of Study program here at Wilfrid Laurier University in Kitchener-Waterloo, Ontario. So we're in the news this past year as the first mother and son to graduate at the same time from the same program at Laurier, and that had started as actually a Mother's Day gift. I had contacted the local CBC here and thought it'd be a great Mother's Day story, and then CBC Radio had invited us to come down and do an interview on their morning show. So her and I did that, and I'll let you talk about that a bit.
The way this came about was Shawn and I, we registered at Laurier, and we weren't, he didn't know that I was registering for the program, and when I found out that he was applying for the master's program at Laurier, it was kind of like a surprise, and the profs at the school, at the Aboriginal Field of Study, wondered if there was going to be a problem because we were mother and son, but we had done so much work on ourselves, individually and as mother and son, and the rest of my family, we did a lot of healing together, and so we were comfortable talking, about our issues. So, and then we had a project as part of our program that we were to work on, and Shawn and I came up with the idea of working with, developing a workshop with intergenerational trauma, because I'm a residential school survivor myself, attending St. Margaret's Residential School in Fort Frances, Ontario. And I've done a lot of work in the past, being an addictions counselor and being in my own recovery. My sobriety is a 26-year sobriety, and so we brainstormed this workshop because you don't hear very often about a mother and son talking comfortably about the issues of intergenerational trauma, because I was not taught, parenting skills, and so I have no idea where this came from, but I really wanted to change things in my family, coming from having 9 brothers and 2 sisters who didn't talk about the issues. And I said, you know what? I said, I really want my family to talk, I put emphasis on talking. And so that we, when my sons were young, I have 3 sons, and we got into recovery and therapy. We had a therapist work with us, and because I was not a good parent, and I had no skills in being a parent, and so I wanted to talk about that, and so we developed this workshop.
So going back to the radio, we had, after being invited to CBC, we ended up getting contacted by a bunch of other media outlets this past year, and the next thing you know, within 24 hours, we were national news as mother and son, graduating together or going to school together, and next thing you know, newspapers were contacting us, radio stations, magazines, and it was just it literally just exploded in 24 hours, and we were doing interviews left and right, and yeah, it was great because I didn't expect it to. I thought something that simple wouldn't turn out to be that big. So it was an honor. It was a great experience, and it really helped bring awareness to people out in the community. We started having people recognize us, coming up to us on the street. We started having people contact us via email, via social media, just random strangers saying, "Oh, thank you for being an inspiration, and thank you for your sharing your guys' story." That's the first time I've ever heard of a mother and a son going back to school together and graduating at the same time, and it just picked up, and it was people still today come up to us on the street and thank us for sharing our story. So from there, like she was saying, we ended up doing presenting at a conference together, and then we started getting invited to speak to classrooms on campuses here in the Waterloo region, and we just started doing presentations about our experience of going to school together, and what was that like growing up, her as an alcoholic, and then my experience growing up as an addict, becoming too addicted to drugs and alcohol, and growing up with bullying and homophobia and racism, and the impact that had on my life. So when we present, when we talk to youth, we share our own experience of what that was like for both of us, and how that's impacted each of us intergenerationally, and we talk about the importance of like acknowledging how these cycles of dysfunction gets passed from one generation to the next. But not only that, we also talk about what worked for us in school, which I think is so important for youth to hear. We talk about the tools that worked for us, such as the Aboriginal Student Centers, accessing writing supports, having friends or family around, finding the support in the local Aboriginal community, especially our own culture, which helped both of us get through school.
Yeah, and we we leaned on each other as family, and I was able to call Shawn because being in the master's program at the age of 61, there were times that I wondered, what am I doing here? Why am I doing this now? And so I took that word quit out of my vocabulary, because in my younger years I quit everything I did, and I said I'm not going to do that anymore. So, and so I started to work on myself, and I managed to get my BA in social work from Carleton University, and then I worked my way up to the master's program, and working in the field of addictions for 15 years, and helping out people that I could relate to, suffering from addictions, and so we just worked together. I still struggled with self-confidence, and one thing that I told the media was that one thing I learned through this was not to listen to myself, because in my own head the message I had was that I couldn't do this, but I showed myself that I could, and I laugh about that today because I proved myself wrong, which is an accomplishment for me, because I can do other things, so, and those messages in my head that were placed in my head when I was young, I still battle with those, but and I imagine that there's youth out there who are given the same message, and I'd like to to encourage them, to do it anyway, and to do these things, that they set goals for themselves and that they can do it. Look at me, 61 years old, and I just graduated my master's, and I have a lot of youth say to me, wow, if you can do that, so can I, and that's what I like to hear, because I tell them, yeah, do this, And I've had the opportunity at the Aboriginal Student Center to work with the youth that are there, and help them with their papers in regards to intergenerational trauma, and help them with their presentations in regards to residential school. So so I'm excited about that, to have youth come and talk to me and say, hey, you know what, like, well, what happened? How did you get where you are today? You know, so that's the message that I like to share out there.
So I guess, like what she was saying, that we emphasize the importance of like what education has done for us, going back to school, and the impact that's had on us. So when we during our presentation, I talk about the impact that watching her go back to school as a mature student had on me as a kid, and watching her go back to school in her 40s and earn her BSW, her Bachelor of Social Work, and the impact that had on me, because I went back to school 6 years ago and went to college, and then went on to university and got my bachelor's as well, and then after I got my bachelor's, then we both entered into our MSW together. So we both talk about the impact that having a role model has on other people, and I see that today too, especially with the youth that I work with. Now today I actually am the events coordinator at an Aboriginal Student Center here on campus, so I actually get to give back what's been given to me. So I was a student accessing supports, and now I'm actually a program coordinator, actually helping other students who are just like me. So yeah, so there is a positive within that cycle, being passed down from one generation to the next. So yeah, so education has played a huge role in our lives, and it's definitely taking us places. And as of this past October, we both convocated and walked across the stage together, which was awesome. I walked across the stage right after her.
Yeah, that was amazing.
And yeah, and it was definitely a moment to remember, having my brothers there, my family there with us, and again, and the media had picked it up again for the second time this year, and next thing you know, we're in all the papers again nationally. So we made the national news twice this year, which was pretty cool. And I think what's, for me personally, like what has the biggest impact on me is just the fact that people feel comfortable enough, strangers, to come up to me on the street and say thanks to you and your mom for being an inspiration, and I've really been considering going back to school, or thank you for sharing your story. And it's great when random people come up to us and say thank you. So
yeah, it's really inspiring for me, because you know, being my age, you know, and thinking of, like, you know, I joked about it when one of the papers interviewed us, you know, and I said, they asked me if I was going to go back for my doctor's, and I said no. I said because by the time I'm done graduating there, then I'll hang my degree in the seniors home and play bingo every Thursday night. So, you know, and you know, we joked about that. So, but it's really exciting. You know, I'm excited about the accomplishments that we have done, and we like to share that. You know, we have something that we need to share, you know, as a mother and son, because you don't hear that out there. You know, there's a lot of rebellion going on out there, or you know, I don't know, like there's I just like to share something positive. So that's why, you know, I think it's really important, you know, and touching that, you know, if we did get chosen as keynote speakers. So I really want to thank you for your time, and say miigwech.
Yeah, same. And I just wanted to say thank you for taking the time to watch our submission. And yeah, and our presentation is not only we focus on what happened and what works for us and positive, and who we are today. So miigwech.
Miigwech.